in addition to Tommy telling you guys you needed a hook, I remember also one of the biggest hits Tommy Boy ever had was Coolio, and he had told Coolio to make the Fantastic Voyage song to change the lyrics to tone down the gang stuff on it. That it was a much harder record at first, probably more like the Sticky Fingers or County Line song.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And look at that changed Coolio's life and helped the label. And then also, one of the reasons why I wanted to ask you about the roles of everybody in the group is that you know this way better than I do, but I've been in the studio hundreds of times myself, and I've seen it. Like, it's a group of people. It's not usually one person. It's not usually the producer, the rapper, and the engineer. It's usually 7 people. And those 7 people are there to help with the lyric here. Somebody's helping the producer. You know, somebody's playing a keyboard. Somebody's got a guitar. It's not a vacuum. And that's why I was always intrigued creatively, which thankfully we'll be doing another part because I'm skipping over some stuff that I want to get to. Right. But I have to ask a couple things before we get to this part. But that's what was always phenomenal to me about On Fire and then In Full Gear, because musically, creatively, stylistically, if you didn't know, you could really think that was 2 different groups that made those records.
Right.
Because the advances sonically, musically, stylistically, and the diversity on that album is, to me, is astonishing. But
Thank you.
No, I mean, that's one of my favorite albums ever. So we'll get to that in a second. But with On Fire, I knew it and I knew it was popular and I liked the record and clearly had songs we've talked about. But I was just amazed. How did that lead to the A.F.R.I.C.A song?
So A.F.R.I.C.A, again, here's another influence, right? So A.F.R.I.C.A itself, technically the first video that Sonic ever had, right? That's our first video.
That's the first one I saw.
Danny Schechter, God bless the dead. His name used to be Danny Schechter. They used to call him Danny Schechter, the news dissector. He was a journalist at CNN. Not CNN, at ABC 2020. At ABC 2020. And he knew Laura Hines, that was the publicist at Tommy Boy. And he told Laura, I think some rappers should be talking about what's going on in South Africa. And so Laura automatically goes, well, I'll get Daddy, So she gets me to go up there with the group. And we go up to Danny's apartment. It's in Lincoln Center. I don't know if they still shoot up there, but almost all of ABC used to shoot up there near Lincoln Center. And we go in Danny's apartment, got these VHS tapes, and he shows us all of this brutality that's going on in South Africa. The necklacing where they used to take gasoline and put it in tires, light it up and put it around people's neck. Like all of this really brutal stuff he shows us. Then he stops the videotape, looks at me and says, why are you guys not making a record about this, Daddy-O? Ain't that what rappers do?
Wow.
Oh, so now he put me on the spot. So what happened was me and Fuquan got together. I had a little idea for a beat because remember, I was messing around with some stuff. I used to always mess around with DBC's equipment and, I had a little idea for a beat. And I needed Fuquan because the one thing I said about A.F.R.I.C.A was, I don't mind making a message record, but it can't be corny. Because I was like, that's just going to take it to another. You got to realize at this particular time, party music is still the creme de la creme in hip hop. If you make the dopest party song. So yeah, me and Fuquan goes, this is the first time we go into Calliope, into the pre-production room, because surprisingly, because Tommy had given us that conference room of his, whenever we recorded a song, we went right into the big room because we had already put it all together. So So this is the first time we went into the production room, because, you know, a lot of people used to go into like the little pre-production rooms and write, but we didn't go in there. But this is the first time we ever went in there. So it was me, Fuquan, and Wise that went in there. The light came after, but me, Fuquan, and Wise went in, put it together. You know, it was a bunch of stuff. Fuquan came up with that "Unleash the Chains" and all of the rest of that stuff. And me and him wrote the song, and Wise followed the pattern that I did on the drum machine. And then later on, we were privileged enough for two things to happen. One was for Baba Olatunji to play drums on it, and two was for Jesse Jackson to be involved with the song. And that Jesse Jackson part was all Tommy Boy. We didn't know them, you know what I mean? But because he had that little piece. That was a speech that he had given us at the top of Free South Africa, and he was already talking about it. He was already meeting with Oliver Tambo and the ANC and all of that. So we kind of made the connection. But yeah, it was a challenge. He was almost punking me. You know what I mean? I'm like, yo, I'm not gonna get punked by this news guy.
And what to me, that's I would say clearly up to that point, but I would say probably period for Stet the most, other than Self-Destruction, which is not your guys' song, but the most overtly political song. So what did you notice about the reaction you got from people, from the media, from people at the label, outside, once that song really took off?
Africa is still making waves. It was amazing. First of all, we did it in partnership with the A.F.R.I.C.A Fund. So we actually got a chance to go on, and, you know, it's part of my, you know, that's kind of the beginning of my lecturing, right? I get a chance to go out with the A.F.R.I.C.A Fund to about, I don't know, we might have went to like 12 cities. We made a study guide for kids in school. So funny, I did an interview with a guy last year, a podcast, and he pulled it up and said, "This is the study guide. I was there in that school. I was one of those kids."
Wow.
The reaction was phenomenal, because I think even today, making a rap record with what we might call heavy substance, it's always a challenge, right? It's always a challenge. And I know what the challenge is. It may not seem like it is, but the challenge is that it just can't be corny. That's the challenge. It's got nothing to do with the content. It's just that sometimes when you speaking about things that are like kind of deep issues, it doesn't always, the rubber doesn't always meet the road with the writers and the music. And so it gets a little different. But man, to this day, man, I mean, there's so many people that walk up to me, or I might do something, oh, that's how I learned about the African countries, you know, all of those particular things. So I think the reality of it is that it's still a phenomenal reaction, because I'm still meeting people that's saying, man, that, you know, not so much that record changed my life, but it's definitely a part of my upbringing.
Yeah, I mean, it was for me, because I remember, thankfully, my parents were very much into me being very knowledgeable and learning about other cultures and different things. But that record, you know, I always remember when people kind of made Africa out to be like a country, like, oh, it's over in Africa. It's like, right. No, Africa's got
right.
countries. Like, what are you talking about? It's not a country.
Right.
And ironically, I was able to use this song to say, look, here's a bunch of the
right. That's dope.
Yeah, so that was always interesting. And then and this around in '87 as well, of course, she did Top Billin' and did stuff with Positive K that came out with First Priority. So how did you get linked with that crew?
So the Pos K record, Lumumba Carson, God bless the dead, who was Professor X and X Clan. I knew his daddy, who passed also, Sonny Carson. So through my uncle. So there was a time that Sonny spoke to my uncle and said, my son wants to get into business. And so my uncle calls me and says, hey, talk to Sonny's son. You know, he's got some music business kind of things going on. So me and Lumumba started talking. You hear me mention Lumumba in the Stet Troop record. And I say, I hang with Walter and Lumumba, and the arrow starts. So Lumumba, you know, I was actually thinking about him today because I saw that DJ Scratch put up a post today, and he had this trophy in his hand, right? And he said, and there was some pictures of him, and he was like, you know, 1988. I don't even know if he said the year, but it was 88. He says, this new music seminar, I won this trophy, but I never got a chance because Daddy-O broke all the trophies and all the turntables on stage, because that was that night I went crazy. And I remember because I had Lumumba and them chase security out. It was a crazy night. But anyway, so me and Lumumba get together. Lumumba started managing Positive K. And so because I knew Lumumba, and Lumumba knew, you know, we all like in the same circle with Maxwell, who's Grand Puba. Me and Puba produced the first single on Paz K, and so that was my first kind of connection with First Priority. And then there was a release party that we had for Stetsasonic, and Delight used to always like this record that Milk and Giz put out called I Like Cherries. And he used to always sing it. And I used to say, what are you singing? Is it rap? And he says, it's kind of rap, but it's not, but you know, whatever. So once I heard the record, I liked it. I seen why Delight liked it. And I saw Milk D inside the Palladium at my release party. And I pulled them to the side. I said, hey man, if you ever want somebody to produce you, man, I'll do it because I had liked this, that I Like Cherries. So that was it. Lumumba connected me with, in the beginning with Nat, and you know, working with the Paz K stuff, me and Maxwell working on that, and then seeing Milk and Delight turning me on to the audio too, because even when I was working with First Priority, I didn't know nothing about the audio too. And then he turned me on to it. He turned me on to them, and I liked them, so I went on to work with them.
So then, I guess chronologically, then what with Positive K, with the Quarter Grand Pam, what was it like working with Grand Puba to make a record?
It was just fun. I mean, this is all the beginning of hip hop, right? So I say this to people all the time, and I always say it in my lectures when I teach. It's very difficult to describe the amount of fun because it was so fresh. So you gotta understand, like, what we were trying to do, and I think a lot of us kind of achieved it, was we knew this music, this culture, this energy from the street. And I don't mean street like in crime, but we literally used to plug into lamps with equipment and, you know, play in the street. So we knew that energy. Now we're on the other side of it. That's why I tell people all the time, I don't make the distinction between MC and rapper, except in one case. You're an MC before you make records. Everybody making records is a rapper. I don't care if you're a rapper and an MC, but you done crossed over into the music business now. So us coming into recording is still all very experimental in terms of what we're trying to do. So, you know, you try something, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Quarter Grand Pam started off with Skin Tight being the whole loop from the Ohio players. Later on, we just used the down, you know what I mean? Like, as you working with it and playing with it and tinkling with things on the keyboard and all that. So it was just dope because it was so experimental, you know what I mean? And then for me and Maxwell, it was kind of dope because we was doing something different. You know, we producing now, you know what I mean? Like, we used to being behind that mic and rapping all the time. Now we're producing. So it was phenomenal, man. I mean, I can't remember any sessions from back then not being like just kind of over the top phenomenal. because we were just learning. So it was always something new that happened. There was always some kind of trigger that happened here. It was always, you know, and all of it for the, I don't want to say thrill, for the aim and for the goal of the aha moment. That's what we wanted. That's it. You know what I mean? Like we you know, sometimes you got it as soon as you go in. Sometimes it don't come until you hear the second verse. You know what I mean? Sometimes it doesn't come until you throw that one scratch in. But when it gets there, you're like, it's there. So, I mean, it was just a whole lot of fun, man.
Be sure to check out the History of Gangster Rap by Soren Baker. He's official.
History of Gangster Rap features exclusive interviews with Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, MC Ren, the D.O.C, and dozens of others. The History of Gangster Rap, a definitive look at how Los Angeles changed rap forever.
In Los Angeles, the streets definitely set the tone of the hip-hop music.
At 19, I got a $50,000 car.
My whole angle always was, I'll be street, but I will always tell you the horrors that go along with this life.
There will be penalties and casualties for just wearing the wrong color in somebody's neighborhood.
And once gangster rap made it from the streets to the TV, the genre exploded.
With A.F.R.I.C.A on Young TV back with NWA.
Yo MTV, it just catapulted us from being local heroes to national gangbang rappers.
The History of Gangster Rap discusses it all from 1980 up till today.
It's always gonna be shit happening in the streets. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something to talk about.
The History of Gangster Rap in stores now.